Okay, let's see if I did it correctly this week. The mic should be on. You guys should hear me. Welcome to Saturday Afternoon Live. Looks like we have about 8 people here, so that's pretty cool. 9 people. And I will take that, considering I really didn't publicize this stream. I just went live at the last minute, 15 minutes ago, decided. So I popped a thumbnail together, and here we are. So let's go to the comments and say hello to a few folks. David was first, as usual. What's up, David? Thank you for being here. We have Jeremy, and then we also have TVJ. Hello, what a surprise. I love it because, yeah, you never know when touch mic equals 1. Not sure, Jay, what that means. Oh, I get it. Yes, because I said I was going to, last stream, I said I was going to try to, refrain from doing that. See, that's just a natural thing for me. So, all right, yeah, keep track, Jay, if you would, if you're here for the length of the stream. Be curious to see how many times I do that. But yes, what a surprise. I love it because you guys never know when I'm going to go live. Although I have been kind of going live regularly on Saturday afternoons, give or take around 1 o'clock-ish, 1:30. We did get back from our motorcycle ride this morning. It was a shorter ride. It's super, super hot here, and we're in a season now where T-storms can pop up, like a cell can pop up like that out of nowhere. So we kept the ride short. We have BMark0610 going off the thumbnail. Isn't Grandstream a phone company? Well, yes, they are. They started as a phone company, but if you haven't been following them as of late, the last couple of years, they have expanded. And just let's take a quick look. I'll show you. Let's cut over to, we'll cut over to this. There. So yeah, they started off as a phone company for sure, but over the years, they've kind of gotten into networking, and they have a whole line of routers. They have a whole line of network switches, indoor access points, outdoor access points, network management tools. They've gotten into convergence all-in-one router firewalls. So, yeah, BMark0610, they did start out, you are right, they did start out as a phone company, but have greatly expanded. I mean, even their switch line now, they have pretty robust layer 3 multi-gig switches out there. In fact, I just released a video on the GWN 7822 yesterday. So, if you haven't checked out Grandstream in a while, it might be worth a look. But in any event, let's keep continuing through the comments. Morning, Jason. Glad you are here. Welcome. And Grish says, in Texas, going home today. It's hot here. Yeah, I can imagine. Are you there on business, Grish? Or recreation? Or a combination of both? So, in any event, let me know what the video and the audio look and sound like. Let me see if I can get my laptop top of the screen out of the picture a little bit. So yeah, it's been a bit of a week. I am going to, as you saw by the thumbnail, I did a pose similar to this. We are going to talk about some testing I've been doing in the lab, actually yesterday, with the Grandstream GWN 7665. I was playing around with the 6 gigahertz band, and then with the 7670, the Wi-Fi 7 access point. I was curious to see, what that's all about. So I did some testing yesterday. Now, just for a baseline. We have Wi-Fi 5 in the house currently as we speak. So hopefully as we get through the stream, I'll show you the baseline on what my current Wi-Fi does, or speeds, I mean, and then we'll plug in the 6 gigabit, the 6 band, 6 gigahertz band, and we'll run some speed tests on that. We'll talk about some of the trials and tribunes I had yesterday with that, and then Wi-Fi 7. Now, honestly, I can't give the Wi-Fi 7 access point a fair shake because I don't have a device that supports Wi-Fi 7. The closest thing I have is this laptop here, this MacBook Pro that I bought last year, and it only supports up to Wi-Fi 6E, so it does support the 6 gigahertz band. So I was at least able to do some testing with the 6 gigahertz band, but again, not going to give the Wi-Fi 7 AP a fair shake, but we'll see, at least in comparison to the Wi-Fi 5 and Wi-Fi 6 on the 80 megahertz band, how it compares. Hopefully in October, I'm up for my 2-year renewal, so I'll probably get the iPhone 16 and the all flavors of the iPhone 16, I believe, support Wi-Fi 7, so we'll give it another look at that point. Let's go back to the comments. Thank you, Jason. I appreciate that. Yeah, we have 8 people here, no likes. So let's get a couple of thumbs up going. I appreciate that. B. Mark says, Ubiquiti went the other way. Switches and networking equipment first, then phones. Yeah, you're right. They did. Yeah, good observation there, B. Mark. AV, both good. Great. Thank you, Jeremy. I'm alive, and welcome, Joe. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I have to do it once. Joe Cephas is in the house. Welcome, Joe Cephas. Okay, that's my Rodecaster Pro imitation for the day. Not Rodecaster Duo, I think. B. Mark says there's a gray area of Wi-Fi testing anyway. Some folks enable DFS and some do not. You will see Ubiquiti. They have different tiers of speed. Which one which uses DFS? Yeah, and I mean, from my understanding, really should try to stay away from using those DFS channels anyway. But appreciate that, Grish. Appreciate that, TVJ. Haley, welcome. Hi. How are you? Welcome to the live stream. Have you tested layer 3 switching itself, the functionality? Haven't gotten to that yet. That is on my to-do list, though, yes. Especially now I have 2 of them, so I might as well dig in with that a little bit. There is some news on the Grandstream front as far as the 7062E. I should be getting my hands on another 7062E or ET. Not sure which one there is coming. And we're going to do a little meshing with the between the 2 units. Now, speaking of that, I want to go back and actually clarify something I said in the video when I did that video. I mentioned that, well, I wasn't sure. I did say I'm not sure, but it appears. Now I can verify 100%. So I made a statement in that 7062 video that said something to the effect of, along with meshing other 7062E and ET units, I read in the documentation for that device on Grandstream's documentation that it will mesh with other Wi-Fi points. That documentation was a little deceiving, which was why I wasn't sure. I was like, are they talking about the standard existing access points that they have out on the market? That's why I said in the video, I'm not sure if anybody knows, or if I'm wrong, let me know down in the comments, etc. Well, that documentation is alluding to the fact that they will be coming out with something. It's in the works. They are coming out with a couple of things that, aside from the 7062Es themselves, that will be meshing with those routers. But the existing standard APs that are currently on the market do not. And I tested that thoroughly, trust me, and I could not get it to work, and I finally put a question out to my representative. So that's the story on that. So the little clarification on what I said in that video. Let's see. Yeah, the new switches are not loud. I wish they would come up with a resolution for that 7806, but that's just water under the bridge at this point. Yeah. I mean, and the wizard looks straightforward as well as far as the meshing is concerned. So yeah, so thanks everyone. We have 11 people here, 4 likes. It's been an interesting week. Before we get into the actual 7665 and 7670, I had a very unique week of service calls. Started off with a client of mine who, an older woman, who I did the Wi-Fi in her house a couple of years ago. And it's a ubiquity line at that point. It was before I got involved with GrandStream. And she called me in a panic Saturday morning and said, I can't watch TV. None of my TVs in my house are working. So the Saturday started off with that. And that's why I didn't live stream last Saturday, because I ran out because I didn't want to leave her without TV all weekend long and make her wait till Monday. She's been a client of mine for quite a few years. So, okay. The way she explained it to me over the phone, and she was panic stricken. She was trying to have a landline phone. Now, a landline to her was calling Spectrum in to set up an IP phone service through their system. But anyway, she referred to it as a landline phone. And, well, she said, ever since I put that landline phone in, I can't watch TV and this, that, and I don't know. Well, I could tell you that when I set up her Wi-Fi, I also set her up with streaming through Fire Sticks. So I didn't want to say to her no, because, in her mind, that's what happened, right? Just at the timing when she did that, added the phone service through Spectrum, everything stopped working. Aside from the fact that we're in the thunderstorm season here, and we have extremely wicked thunder and lightning storms this time of year. Like I said, they'll pop up out of nowhere. So in my mind, that's what was causing her issues before I even got there, and had nothing. I was like 100% sure it had nothing to do with Spectrum firing up the phone service. So I get there, and the TV in the bedroom. First, I confirmed that all the Fire Sticks were good, because there was a third TV that she wasn't using that I plugged them into, and they worked fine. So we got that out of the way. The TV in the bedroom just needed a hard reset. I just pulled the plug out of the back, counted to 10, plugged it back in, and boom, it turned on. Now, what that TV was doing, that TV was typically just turning on the power light came on, the screen flashed, and then the TV turned right off. So I reset that and drained dissipated the current that was on, I guess, remaining on the motherboard after maybe an electrical spike or something. And that TV was good to go. Plugged in her Fire Stick, she was good to go. Get out to the main TV in the living room, a 70-inch TV. And the TV's coming on, but none of the ports on the actual back of the TV were recognizing. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Fire Stick was plugged into her AV receiver, which was then sending the HDMI out up into the TV. Long story short there, it wasn't recognizing anything being sent from the receiver. But yet, if I plugged the Fire Stick into the TV directly, it worked fine. I ended up having to take the TV off the wall to find out that she was doodling back there, trying to figure out what was going on, and she pulled out the HDMI cord from the faceplate that was terminated on the wall behind the TV. And it wasn't a pull-out, fully articulating TV. It was just a tight stationary mount. So I had and I wasn't ready for that. I was the only one there by myself, and I lifted this 70-inch TV off the wall by myself to find out that not only was the cable unplugged, but the HDMI connector that snapped into the back of the faceplate came off. So now it was dangling in the wall. So anyway, got that all straightened out. But she was so panicked that she was going to have to buy a new TV. So that was that story. Let me go through the comments and see what else. Does Grish have a single pane of glass management just like Ubiquiti that comes along with auto updates, etc.? Yes, they do. They have something called gdms.cloud, which is their cloud portal, and it's free, and it's multi-site. They also have GWN Manager, which is their local software management system. And then certain routers like the GCC, the Convergence series, you can bring everything in access points and switches and manage it through the actual router. So they give you options. Great question. Chris is saying hi to Haley. Welcome, David. Sorry I'm late. Bet everyone is surprised, huh? Welcome, David. All right, so that was that. That's how the week started off. Monday, and we'll get through this quickly. Monday, I get to a customer. They called and they said that something's wrong with the Wi-Fi. The son's a gamer. It was latency, this, drop packets. So I go there, and I did their network 7 years ago. I've been keeping the equipment up to date firmware-wise, but still the original Ubiquiti router and access points. So I go out to check it out. I do a quick speed test while I'm there via Wi-Fi, and I'm getting dismal, like 30 and 40 up and down. I was like, oh, wow, okay. So then I got on the son's gaming computer up in his office, and I did a wired speed test, and I was getting basically the same speeds. And I was, something's definitely wrong here. And then she told me that the fiber provider came out to the house, changed the guts of the ONT that was on, and he changed the guts on the ONT that's on the outside of the house. So first thing I did was go check the cable on that. So I tested the cable. The cable tested good from the ONT up to the one that the router patches into. Cable tested okay. So I took my laptop and then I plugged into the ONT directly and, authenticated and got the speeds we were supposed to be getting right from the ONT. So I said, all right, so there's something going on between the ONT and the router. And that turned out to be just a termination, not on the ONT side, but on the other end of the cable, the RJ45 keystone. After 7 years, I'm not sure exactly what happened, but I re-terminated the keystone where the router feed punched into, and boom, speeds were back. So that's rare. That's the first time that happened to me. I'm doing this 9 years, but anyway, got that resolved. And then I was at a synagogue this week trying to troubleshoot a live streaming problem, an audio problem for them. They had a Soundcraft. I never heard of it before. Joe, you might know the brand. I don't know. Let me bring it up on the screen. Jay, you might know the brand too. Let's see. So they had Signature 16. That's eBay. I don't want that. Let's go back. Well, anyway, they had this guy here, the Soundcraft Signature 16 mixer, but the person who set up the mixer, that's two. The person who set up the mixer and the network and everything, they left no documentation whatsoever. So the first thing I had to do is figure out what the entire setup was. Now the woman said to me, we just want something simple for our streaming. It's too difficult, yada yada yada. They had 3 cameras installed 3 years ago, and they look like just regular surveillance cameras in the rear of the unit and 2 on the sides of the synagogue congregation area, and IP cameras going into a network switch connected to, they had a small HP mini PC running as a media server, which they were running OBS on to stream out. And then they were taking the audio feed out of this mixer here via the USB send into the actual mini media center PC, media PC. And they said, oh, yeah, it was working in April. Now it's not working. And so my thought before I got there was I was just going to, based on, depending on what kind of cameras they had, if they had HDMI cameras or SDI cameras, my hope was, because she was saying it was simple, just get rid of the media PC altogether and just get a small ATEM in there. But anyway, didn't work out. So now I got to troubleshoot this audio thing. And turns out that the mixer was sending the USB send no problem. I think the sound card, I'm going to chalk it up to the sound card on the media server, must have taken a hit or something, because it wasn't recognizing any of the drivers, any of the audio devices, couldn't assign in the sound preference panel. So there happened to be a Surface tablet there. So I installed the drivers on the Surface tablet. And then I took the USB cable out of the media PC and into the Surface tablet. We threw OBS on there, got the cameras in, and we got sound, we got video, we got everything. So that's what we ended up doing for now. They're not going to run their live stream on that. They know they either have to, the son who's just graduated in cybersecurity, is searching for an external USB sound card with the hopes that the sound card, you know, he could just put something like an external dongle on it. If not, they're probably going to have to replace the little mini PC. But it's just been an interesting eclectic week of service calls. Like I ask myself how I get these things, and then how I get through it too. So anyway, back to the comments. And also access points can manage multiple APs as well. Yes, Jason's 100% correct. A GrandStream access point, for example, this guy here can manage, could be considered the primary, and then you could hook up a bunch of secondary devices to it. I noticed GrandStream got away from using the terms master and slave, so now it's primary and secondary units. So yeah, and I believe most of them can do 50, can manage actually 50, but not multi-site, obviously, just for the one local site. So, okay, TVJ says, any updates on your rack? No, other than the fact that right now, Jay, I have the 7822 just sitting on top of the rack, temporarily plugged in, because I wanted to do the testing with the 7665 and the 7670 access points, and I wanted to use the 2.5 gigabit ports on those devices. So I needed a switch that had 2.5 gig on it. So I just have that sitting on top of the rack. It's just patched in to the rack via 1 gig. That's the backbone there between the two switches. But I have the Ugreen NAS, which also has a 10 gig port and a secondary port, which is a 2.5 gig port. So I have the Ugreen plugged in the 10 gig port to 10 gig connection via a 10 gig SFP Plus port. And we can verify that real quick. So here, let me just make sure my Wi-Fi is off on this computer, so I know I'm getting just the 10 gig Ethernet connection. So here, if I did a speed test, this is connecting out to the 10 gig connection, wired. And you can see I'm definitely getting my 10 gig transfer speeds between this computer and the NAS. Should be similar with the upload as well. So there you go. Wired from the Mac Studio to the NAS. Now, I plugged the 2.5 gig port from the Ugreen into the 2.5 gig ports on the 7822. And then to do the Wi-Fi testing, I just plugged the access points, the 7665 and the 7670, just into the 2.5 gig ports on that 7822. So I had the access points and the NAS both connected via 2.5 gig on that switch. So at least I can test that way. So that's the setup for what I was doing this way. What I was doing this week. I have used Soundcraft, but it has been a while. Yeah, I had never heard of that one, but anyway. I've been burned by USB audio devices. We almost lost a parade because it would not connect even though it had several days before the event. Yeah. Yep. And Grish is saying on the Mac, the Ethernet interface has a lower metric, so it should be used to that no matter if the Wi-Fi is on or off. Interesting, because I always understood it as if you have both on, it all depends on which service order you have them set up in the preferences. But that's what we used to talk about in school with the network admin. So I'm not sure if things have changed now or not, but thank you for sharing that, Krish. I could put the Wi-Fi on and see, and then check the service order. Let's check that out. Let's put the Wi-Fi on. Okay, let me just check the service order real quick. Okay, let's see let me do a quick speed test again. Let's refresh. See, so now the Wi-Fi is dominating because it's in the service order, it's on the top. So pretty poor Wi-Fi results, by the way. Yeah, the download should have been more somewhere around here too. Hey, we have 14 people here. Woohoo! All right, let's turn off the Wi-Fi and let's refresh. Yeah. Anyway, so that's what I thought. But listen, I'm always open to new things because I love learning. All right, so that's that. Let's go back to the comments quickly. Macs don't like 2.5 gig at all. I guess I don't know. I've either only I've had single, I've had gig Macs and I've had 10 gig Macs. I haven't ever used a Mac with a 2.5 dongle or anything like that. So David says, I've been using something called LibreSpeed. I once put open speed test behind a reverse proxy and it did not behave properly. The proxy was doing the speed test on my behalf and ballooned the numbers. Interesting. And David says, oh yeah, the service order. And then, yes, Joe, you're 100% right. You can change the priority service order on the Mac. You're right about that. I forgot about the service order. I've always had Ethernet higher. Mark this day in history. First time Grish was wrong in his line. Too funny, you guys. I forgot Apple ignores standards. Apple ignores a lot of stuff, but they also set standards too. So I remember, oh gosh, I can't remember the year, but we were at, it was for work. We were at the Javits Center for a technology trade show. And it was just when Apple made the decision to eliminate the floppy drive off the computers. And wow. So they do set some standards. Think different, Grish. Good one, Joe. Why don't you have Ethernet higher in the service order so you won't have to turn off Wi-Fi? I'm just such a creature of habit, Grish, and I don't really, I want to just take the benefit of the 10 gig connection in this studio here because I have it, because I do all my editing over that 10 gig connection, because the DaVinci Resolve database and all the data resides on the NAS. The only time I ever use Wi-Fi on this particular workstation is if I need to just airdrop something from it to something else. And Jason is saying your Mac Studio is multi-gig. I'm not sure about that, but it's possible. Go plug it into your new switch and see what it does. Could do that. My Mac Mini has 10 gig, but it's plugged in and it works well. Okay. Well, there you go. I just learned something. I wasn't aware. So thank you guys. And I say that sincerely because I'm not accustomed to that being the case. I'm accustomed to, like, I know on the switches, 10 gig is 10 gig and it will not auto negotiate or even have an option for manual 2.5. It's 1 or 10, right? So thank you for that. Chris says, I really need to pick up a Mac Studio M4 Max. Possibly might wait for the next refresh, which would be when? The fall? Or is that just when they do the iPhone release? So, anyway, and Jason, I will do this. Where is it? Go plug your switch in, your go plug the Mac into the new switch. I will do that, but not now because you just got to see this place. And to get, I either have to get a long enough cable from the Mac Studio to make it to that back closet for now just to do a quick test, which I don't have available. Or I'd have to then, in that closet, patch one of the wall ports here. And it's just, I don't want to do that now during the stream. It's a pain. So Mac Studio does from 10, 100, 1 gig, 2.55, and 10. Okay, if you say so. Again, just sent you a screenshot in Signal. What year is your Mac Studio, though? Do you have a newer one? Because mine is just the M1 from 3-4 years ago. Let me just take a look at this. Let me see if I can Ethernet. Details, hardware. Well, look at that. Thank you. All right. So my Mac M1 Studio does do exactly what Jason said. Very cool. Never, ever explored that. Thumbs up, Jason. They will likely announce a new studio in the fall, but may not be available until spring until they surprise us. My point, Jason says, my point was that Macs don't like 100% like 2.5. It's very intermittent. Well, along those lines, with the testing that I did with the Wi-Fi, I'm also finding that the Apple devices, be it a Mac or an iPhone or an iPad, don't particularly take the 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi band. They don't take full advantage of that either. There are limitations. And I was just finding that out. So it seems that Apple kind of like puts their own twist on a lot of things. Jay says, I don't see the sports set behind you. That is correct, Jay. Hold on. Let's see if this works. Yeah, it's still working. Okay. Can I go that way? Let's go this way. Let's go all the way around. That's where the sports set was. The sports set is no longer. And that is because the host decided that he didn't want to do it anymore back in April. So, yeah, we disbanded it. He got interested in golf. He plays golf 8 days a week. If there was 8 days. No, I'm kidding, not kidding. He plays golf 4 to 5 days a week on top of working and having a girlfriend. And he just was, how can I say it? He just was disheartened with the slow growth of the show on YouTube. So in about a year and a half, we had just over 1,100 subscribers. And he just kind of felt for the amount of work that was going into it to do a weekly live show, the return wasn't what he had hoped it to be. Now, that said, we got to meet a hell of a lot of VIP sports figures, Hall of Famers that we would have never in a lifetime had an opportunity to meet and talk to and ask questions of and have questions answered. So that experience in of itself was worth it. For me, on the production side, that's always been my passion to want to do something like that. So for me, it was totally worth it. I'm not really quite sure where his goals were and what he thought was going to come of it, but in any event, that's no more. But so anyway, it's interesting that you noticed that. Jason, he has the M1. I didn't think he had 10 gig. Yeah. Yep. No. I bought it, Joe, at that time. I was with you up in Connecticut. Another time, Joe was spending my money. I bought it specifically because I knew it had 10 gig. I just totally overlooked that it was multi-gig, to be quite honest. And we both have the same machines. Okay. Yes, and I have been using 10 gig to edit from. That's the whole point. I set up my editing, all my raw data lives on my Synology 1621 Plus. The DaVinci Resolve databases all reside there, and I do the editing directly or in real time directly off the Mac Studio. Works like a charm. Now, 1080p editing. I don't do 4K, so I can't speak for that. Okay, so that's that. Let's see what else. All right, so let me do this. Let's do this. Let's take, I'm going to close the comments for a second. I'll have to get them back. I want to take, give me 1 second. I know you see the end of a video. I want to show you guys that later. Let me bring that up. Okay. So connected to my regular house Wi-Fi, which is, it's called PAL Wireless. And if I show you the connection, we are connected at 5 gig on an 80 megahertz channel width on this particular Wi-Fi. So this is my typical everyday Wi-Fi. It's not great. It's usually somewhere between 3 and 350. I'm not sure why. But yeah, and the upload's much faster. We'll do that one more time and see if we get a better download. And then the unit is approximately 18 to 20 feet behind us on the ceiling. Yeah, so anyway, we're right around 290, 300. This is off of the MacBook Pro. Now, while that's, I'm going to go plug in the 7665. I'll be right back. Okay, let's switch back to me for a second. There we go. Let me go back. I'm not even going to bring the comments back up because I have to close H2R just to be able to show the extended screen on the MacBook Pro. So give me 1 second. We'll give the 7665 a chance to pop up. And let me see if I can bring up. Okay. Now the question is, let's bring this to the screen. Question is, let's sign into the 7822P. And let's see if I remember the password. Yay. All right, so if we go over to port info, you can see on here, this port here, port 17, it's connected at 2.5. That's the Ugreen NAS that's running that speed test. And then you got the 7665 connected in port 24. And you can see I just have the uplink to the other switch via 1 gig. So we definitely have established our 2.5 between the access point and the test server. So let me go now back to that test server. And we'll refresh that. And let's see if it's the Wi-Fi is up yet. There it is, right there. And let's see what we connected at. All right, so we are connected at on the 6 gigahertz band on the 160 megahertz channel. That's where obviously I got the best performance. So let's see what we got. Okay, so actually let me bring that back real quick so you can see the final. 852 down and 601 up. So that was the best performance I got. So in comparison to the Wi-Fi 5, you can see the speeds are much improved. Now, keep in mind, both access points are in roughly the same vicinity. I don't have the 7665 mounted on the ceiling, but it's back in that closet room in the close vicinity to the 7630 that's up on the ceiling here. Interestingly enough, let me see if I can get signed into that access point. And I set it up as a primary. I'll explain why in a minute. Let's see, did it? Okay. All right, let's bring this up there. Okay, let me see. I just got to look up the password, guys. Bear with me. And it's right here. Okay. So looking at the way I have it set up, so for under configuration, I have band steering 6G priority turned on. Let's get to that in a minute. Right now I have the 2.4 and the 5 enabled. You can see it says disable 5G, which is the opposite. Usually it says enable and you click it on, and then I have obviously all 3 bands on, and I have the channel width set manually instead of using the radio settings, and I have the radio power set to low. If I drop the channel width to 80 to match the Wi-Fi 5 access points, and this takes a while for Grandstream devices to update, because then it goes through all of the different services and updates them. But we'll go back and we'll do another speed test. Now, obviously, changing the band to 80, you're not going to get as good speeds. But the question I wanted to know was, on the 6 gig band in the 80 megahertz channel, how much different would it be from the 5 gig band on the 80 megahertz channel? Like, I'm trying to figure out, like, is there really a benefit for me to change out the access points that I have in my house right now? Obviously, the 160 megahertz band is not as congested, so I could leave it. If I do, I could leave it set to the 160 megahertz channel width and be okay and get those faster speeds. But I was just curious, matching the channel widths. All right, so we should be good to go there. Yep, and let's go back to that now. Okay. And then we'll check the comments. All right, so let's go back. Let's make sure we connected. Yep, we're on the 6 gigahertz band, 80 meg. Let's do a 80 megahertz channel. Okay, so definitely increased download speeds over the Wi-Fi 5. The upload speeds right around the same, a little bit less. Funny thing is, there are a lot of anomalies when it comes to testing Wi-Fi, because yesterday I was not getting, on the 80 megahertz channel, 6 gigahertz band, I was not getting 700 down. I was only getting around between 3 and 350. So again, I take it all with a grain of salt. And yesterday, I also have, let me go back to this for a second. I also have all 3 bands, like I showed you before, enabled. The 2.4 is enabled, the 5 is enabled, and the 6 is enabled. And the reason for that is I couldn't get, if I disabled those on the access point and just left the 6 gigahertz band as the active band, this computer here, which does support the channels in the 6 gigahertz bandwidth, was not seeing the SSID. I could not connect the computer to it. And then I found an article, this one here, about the Wi-Fi 6E networks have limited compatibility when dealing with Apple. And the first thing they tell you is for best performance, with Apple devices, the Wi-Fi router providing the network or the device providing the network should use a single network name across all of its wireless bands, 2.4, 5, and 6E, or the 6 gigahertz band. And I found that the computer would not see the SSID with just the 6 gigahertz band enabled. At first I thought it had to do with channel widths, because that's another thing with the Apple device. If you go to the system preferences and you look at the Wi-Fi specs and the bands that it supports under the 6 gigahertz band, I'm not going to show it to you because it's so small on that computer. It has all of the 20 megahertz bands, but not the 40, the 80, the 160, and then of course with the Wi-Fi 7 access point, the 320. But for the life of me, I couldn't understand why I had to enable the other 2 bands in the access point in order for this computer to see the SSID. So that I thought was odd. So anyway, let me go back into H2R and see what's going on in the comments. Let's connect the live chat. Let's open it up. Oh, wrong monitor. There we go. Let's turn that on. Let's open this up. Okay, let's see where we're at. Okay, here we are. There we go. Schwartz no longer talking sports. I love it. Sports is so hard that as a company, we have found it really hard to make it work. Hey, did you make it show your network Wi-Fi stats? Hey, how did you make it show your network Wi-Fi stats like that? Oh, you mean on the Apple, so under the Wi-Fi icon on the Apple device. So, well, you know where it is. Up in the upper menu in the upper right-hand corner, the little pizza pie slice. Once it's connected to the Wi-Fi, if you hold down the Option key and click the little Wi-Fi signal up in the menu bar up in the top right, it'll bring all the stats up like that, and you could actually see which band you're connected to and what channel, the band channel width, etc. There you go, Jason. We just traded today. You taught me about the multi-gig Ethernet port on that, and there we go. Gotta run. All right, Joe. Thanks for stopping in, my friend. And B Mark 0610 says, just came back in after cutting a couple of tree branches down and fighting cicada. Oh, wow. Crazy out here with these bugs. Yeah, cutting trees. I'm not sure where you are, but I know definitely here we're in the mid-90s today. I don't want to be out there cutting any kind of trees or doing any kind of physical labor for that matter. So, but welcome back. Thank you for popping back in. Thank for the tip. It's awesome. You're welcome. Thank you for your tip earlier. All right. So let me go and any thoughts, anybody on, Jason, I'll throw this out to you because I know you use the GDMS cloud a hell of a lot more than I do. But the reason I set the 7665 up as its primary was because, all right, so here's the setup in my house right now. When I had all the Ubiquiti gear in place, the Ubiquiti router and the Unify switches, I had the 3 GrandStream access points set up in the house. And I have two 7630s, one downstairs. on the main floor in the main general living area, a 7630 up here in the studio, and then in my bedroom, master bedroom, I have a 7615. And I used the 7630 that's on the first floor as the primary, or back then they called it master. And I pretty much adopted the other two to it. So it's controlling my Wi-Fi. And I didn't want to just add on to that, right? So I said, all right, I'm going to use GDMS Cloud. I am going to just adopt it to the GDMS Cloud under my QuickTech Lab site that I have there, and I'll set it up that way. And I did. And I got it, and I watched it provision. I saw the lights blinking on it. But even though it said it was provisioning, it really was not pushing it was not pushing it out to the device. I don't know what it was doing when it was blinking. It was acknowledging something, but for the life of me, I couldn't get the SSIDs to come up using GDMS Cloud. So I got frustrated with that, and I just said, what the hell, I'll just set it up as a primary and log right into it. So anyway, thoughts on that if you've had any issues with that. Northeast Massachusetts, I love it. A Basic English, welcome to the stream. You're new. I appreciate you stopping in. Humongous shout out to you at Quick Tech Solutions LLC. Well, thank you. I'm not sure why you're shouting out to me. I must have helped you somewhere along the way, but thank you very much for being here, and thanks for the shout out. We could do a video call later and chat, maybe a video call tomorrow or one night. Yeah, absolutely, man. It's been a while. Absolutely. And we could muddle through that together. Absolutely. All right. Be right back. I am going to actually do two things. I have 11 people here. I hope you stick around a little bit longer. I want to do two things. I'll put up a be right back screen or something like that. In the meantime, I'll unplug the 7665. I'll fire up the 7670, which is the Wi-Fi 7 device. And in the meantime, while that's firing up and the be right back screen is up, I will, do I have the be right back screen? Let me see. I will just go down and refill my crystal light. So let's see. Where's my media tab? Yep, I have the be right back. No media assigned. Let's see. Can I bring that on? Okay, guys, I'll be right back. Okay. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you waiting for me. We had 10 people when I left, and we still have 10 people. Awesome. We have 7 likes. Thank you very much. If you guys can hit the like button, and would much appreciate it. All right. Sorry, it's what we do when going live on YouTube, doing a quick shout out. Okay. From the Philippines. Awesome. I subscribed to you during the pandemic. Well, awesome. Well, thank you. I'm delighted to catch you live. I'm delighted to have you here. Welcome. Okay, so the Wi-Fi 7 device is up and running. So let me switch back to, got to close out of the comments again. And let me refresh this. And let's see what I'm connected to. There it is. That's the Wi-Fi 7 device. Let's see what I'm connected to as far as, it's only a 2-band device, by the way. That 7660 is not a tri-band. It's just 2.4 and 5. And I'm connected to the 5 gigahertz band at 80, the channel width is 80 megahertz on channel 157. Okay, so let's see if I get better results today than I did yesterday. Yesterday, the speeds, again, this computer that I'm using to do the test does not support Wi-Fi 7. So I have the Wi-Fi 7 device set the same parameters that I have the Wi-Fi 5 devices in my house set to. So, like I said, hopefully in October I'll be getting the new iPhone and I'll be able to, test out the Wi-Fi 7 capabilities. Now that's interesting because I was not getting this yesterday. Okay, I'm pleased to see these speeds because I was a little disheartened yesterday. I was getting less than the Wi-Fi 5 access points. I was getting in the 200s up and down. And I did multiple speed tests yesterday. So let's see. Let's do it one more time. Okay. Okay, so let's switch back to me. Just gotta figure it. There we go. Okay. I did not get those speeds yesterday. Absolutely did not. So I'm happy to see that because based on what we saw today, the Wi-Fi 7 speeds on the 5 gig band at 80 megahertz channel width, same as the Wi-Fi, is getting better speeds or equal to or better speeds than the 6 gigahertz band on, was it the 160? All right, so the 6 gigahertz band on the, it's a tongue twister, 160 megahertz channel width is comparable to the Wi-Fi 7 access point on the 5 gigahertz band on the 80. So it does pay to update. I would think I should just bypass the 7665 tri-band and just go to Wi-Fi 7, but I might wait even longer now until Grandstream comes out with the Wi-Fi 7 tri-band access points. Because I know that's probably in, I don't know anything for sure. Like I don't know anything you don't know. And so I'm not speaking out of turn, like saying something I shouldn't say, but I'm pretty sure something like that is on their roadmap. So I'm going to wait it out just a little longer. It doesn't make sense for me to spend the money on Wi-Fi 6E access points when I think right around the corner, the Wi-Fi 7 access points will support the 3 bands. So that's my thought process on that. What are your thoughts, folks? Please chime in. I'd love to hear what you have to say about that, about what my analysis or my summary. But yesterday I was not getting those Wi-Fi 7 tests, so I don't know. All right, so now I should be able to bring back up the comments. Just give me a minute, bear with me. Connect, open, and open. All right, let's see where we are. Okay. Haley and I just sent you something in Signal. Okie dokie pokey. Love it. Love it. All right, guys. That's awesome. Can I show it? I'm going to send one to my... I'm going to send them to my computer in case you say yes, I can show it. Let me see, is Wi-Fi on? No. Hold on. That's funny. That is hysterical. All right. That is hysterical. I got a chuckle out of that one, Jay and Haley. Come on. Let's go. All right, let me maybe save them first. Okay, hold on. I got to get them. I got to get them there first. All right. Da-da-da. All right. Maybe I can try again. Let's see. Yeah, sometimes I have a problem sometimes with this with AirDrop. Hold on. Should work on this regardless of the Wi-Fi network, but let's get to the other one and see. I definitely want to show it because it's hysterical. It says AirDrop complete. I doubt it. Let me look for them. Hold on, guys. They're hysterical. I love it. Oh, there they are. Yeah, they came. They just took a while. All right, that's one. I got to get the other one now. That's awesome. That's awesome. I'll just let it do its thing. Ah, there we go. 1 and 2. All right. I know. It's for me, I'm getting a kick out of it. You guys are probably going to be like, yeah, well, so what? But here we go. So, Haley said the caption under this picture was waiting. And then I get a second picture that shows this and says, still waiting. Love it. Love it, guys. Thank you so much for sharing that. Made my day. Awesome. All right. That's awesome. All right. So there's that. Anyway, let's go back to the comments now. Could be, Jason. Could be. Maybe. I mean, the only other access point in this area is the 7630, and I honestly thought, like Mel, I should really disconnect it or unplug it from the switch so that the only Wi-Fi up here would be the 7665 when I had that on, or the 7670 while I have that on. But the problem with disconnecting the Wi-Fi 5 access point up here is some of the stuff that I'm using to do this stream over Wi-Fi, like the iPad and Mix Effect Pro and things like that, are reliant upon, at least the iPad's reliant upon that SSID that it's currently connected to. So if I disconnected the Wi-Fi 5, then I would lose partial control of the stream. So I had no choice but to leave it on. Hey, Tony, been lurking for a while, loving all the content here in the UK. Well, thank you, Bluey. Blue E. Appreciate you for being here. We are laughing like crazy. Yeah, I got a kick out of that, guys. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. All right. Couple of streams ago, I should say, I shared with you guys in a hand drawing. Like I said, put your thoughts about my decision on waiting on Wi-Fi tri-band Wi-Fi 7 access points from GrandStream. I think that's a good decision on my part. Okay. A couple of weeks ago, I'm going to take out my handy dandy drawing board real quick to refresh your memory if you were here. I talked about an installation dilemma I had with installing a Samsung picture frame TV, which only sits literally a quarter of an inch off the wall in an area where above the fireplace, the builder put in the electrical outlet. So based on where the electrical outlet was placed in the bay right next to that, I put in, and it's not perfectly centered, but I put in my Cat 6 connections. I don't know if that rings a bell to you. And I described during that live stream that my dilemma is because we did not know that the homeowner was going to go with a picture frame TV. So we needed to take the Ethernet and the electric and relocate them. And I had to look for some kind of recessed electrical outlet that could also manage low voltage cables at the same time to get the TV to work perfectly on the wall. So this will all make sense to you when I show you these couple of pictures of the process and the finished process. So the first picture is, let's go to here. So originally the Cat 6 cable was here. The electric was here. This was not here. And that would be your typical install unless the homeowner opted to have a recessed AV box put in the wall during the construction process. He did not want that. So we just did the standard, the electrical did the standard AC box, duplex outlet over here on the right, and I did the standard one gang box, and I had this terminated with an RJ45 keystone. We find out 2 weeks before closing that they want to put the Samsung flat screen picture frame TV, and this configuration with the two outside one gang outlet areas was not going to work. Part of the problem was this box right here. So this box on the left, upper shelf on the left, is the one connect box that comes with the Samsung frame TV. And as you can see, it's pretty big. These are Sonos amps right here. So in relationship to the Sonos amp, you can see this stands almost as high, but it's more rectangular and just not as deep. But that's not going to fit behind the TV unless the proper recessed AV box was installed during the pre-construction stage. So now we had no choice but to put this down in this cabinet. The problem arose because with those One Connect TVs, you see this cable right here coming out of this center box. This cable carries everything. It carries power to the back of the TV. It carries the audio and the video. So this box here plugs into your wall outlet, and all your I/O ports, HDMI, etc., are all on this box here. So our challenge was we had to then get that cable from up here to down in this cabinet here, and the One Connect cables are not in-wall rated, so we had to put it inside a conduit. So it was not a lot of fun trying to get the conduit through this wall here and down into here. But we managed it, and you can see, if you look closely to this picture here, you can see the flex conduit here. I have it secured to the one gang box. I used an old work box, and then if you see this picture here, you can kind of see it coming out here. Now we weren't finished here. We need to do wire management. We need to, finish this off here with the two gang plate, etc. But that's what we had to deal with. We got it done. I wish that we had known we would have run a conduit in the wall when we did all the other pre-wiring. I offer that as an option, as I do the recessed TV box, but the customer, had refused it at the pre-construction stage. So the other piece was we needed to hide the soundbar electric, and that's where, let's go back to this for a second. That's where this came in, where we needed that horizontal recessed electrical outlet, and we were able to bring low voltage cables. There was a passage for that as well through. So I basically I extended this cable here down to, I should have had a shot. So we have the recessed outlet in here. So I extended the Ethernet cable that was up here down, coming in through here, so it could plug into the Sonos Arc. I had my buddy, who's an electrician, come in and bring this outlet. Fortunately, this outlet came up from the bottom, so he was able to just remove it from the existing box and bring it into the outlet that we purchased here. We finally did find a one gang recess that did both AC and low voltage passageways. And then again, we ran the tube up so that this cable will power the TV and bring all the audio and video to it. These are the mounts for the picture frame TV. It just lifts and hangs on here and on here. And the finished product looks like this. So it's nice and clean. You don't see anything. But what a pain in the you-know-what to do after the fact to retrofit. So And we didn't even know, honestly, we were hanging that TV until a month before closing, because usually the builder's electrician hangs one TV for the homeowner. And it's typically the TV in the main living area, which is, in this case, the one over the fireplace. So I wanted to definitely share that with you. It's crazy. Jay says, as far as waiting, yeah, I concur with you, because even if I wait, Jay, for Grandstream to come out with the Wi-Fi 7 tri-band APs, the only device I'm going to have in the house is my iPhone and my wife's iPhone. At that point, because our upgrades are due in October. So I think waiting is, I mean, the Wi-Fi I have is fine. Typically, I normally get around 4 and 5 up and down, and it's fine for our use case. But, and that's about everything I had for you. I have, let's see, still 13 people here. So one of the other things I've been spending a lot of my time on, and I know this has nothing to do with networking or anything like that, but you guys are like part of the community. So isn't part of the community to let you know what else I've been up to? It doesn't have to be networking and tech related, although in this case it kind of is in one shape or way or form tech, but it's not tech as in networking and what we do. 12 concurrent viewers still here and 10 likes. Thank you, folks. I appreciate that. If you will indulge me, I'm going to close comments for a second. I think I mentioned about, oops, there we go. I think I mentioned about, just let me get it set here. Hold on. I think I mentioned about 2 streams ago, maybe 3 streams ago, that I want to get back into real estate photography. I used to do it back in 2019, 2020, and 2021 when my wife was selling new homes for the builder. And I used to do, every time they built a new home, a new model home, or a new spec home for sale, I used to do all the real estate interior and exterior photos. I want to get back into that. I want to incorporate that into a service that I offer, maybe not part of Quick Tech Solutions, but just maybe doing business as something else. Because I do have my drone license. So I've been spending a lot of my time researching, refreshing myself on blending real estate photos in Photoshop and Lightroom. So taking outdoor brackets are either 3 or 5. When you press the camera shutter button to take the picture, it takes either 3 or 5, depending on what you set it to, or more. 3 different or 5 different shots of that. It takes a picture, but it gives you 5 different exposures, from very, very light to very, very dark. And then what you do in Lightroom and Photoshop is blend them all together. So I used to know how to do that pretty fluently years ago because I was doing it, but I haven't done it in a while. So I've been refreshing myself on that. And also now with the drone, I've been really paying attention to a lot of drone techniques as far as capturing outdoor drone real estate photography for selling a mid to upper level home. So this is a video that I did with my drone. It's all drone shots, and I edited it together, not even in DaVinci Resolve, believe it or not, but in a program called CapCut, which is just another editing program. I think it came out okay. It was I did, this is my second edit on the same footage. The first edit, I thought came out okay, but then I kept watching and learning and refining, and I came up with this. Like I said, I hope you don't mind me indulging you. And again, the premise behind this is it's my house, right? So I shot my house, and it was a sample video shoot, drone footage shoot that I wanted to send to the builder. I've spoken to the builder who I do a lot of work for as far as the networking stuff is concerned, and I told him what I'm getting into. So I wanted to put together just like a sample to send him to give him an idea of what I'm talking about and what I would be offering. Maybe we can offer his customers, or he can offer, we talked about offering construction monitoring as different phases of the construction. So from the foundation to the framing to all that. So I came up with this. It's literally a minute long. It's not long at all. And just to give you an idea, so if I may, I'm just going to switch over. Now I just got to get it rewound. Okay, and hopefully it's not going to blast you. Now, the funny thing is, my home was not built by Coastal Luxury Homes, but it was a sample that I wanted to send to the builder. So that's what I came up with. So that was my first. I've been flying my drone for quite a few years, but I never focused in on actual techniques for capturing real estate, for real estate video. So that was my first attempt at doing something like that. It was actually my second edit attempt, but the first time I actually used the drone to capture that kind of footage. So I'd love to know what you guys think. And thank you for letting me indulge you with that. So let me go back and bring the comments up again. I got to just get it connected again. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's go back to the comments. And besides that, and working on Lightroom and Photoshop still photography techniques, I bought a bunch of lighting to take with me on the real estate shoots. I bought a newer Q300 monolight flash, and then a handheld flash with a trigger for the camera, so that when I'm in larger spaces, like you can, even if you, here's a perfect example, this room right where I am is very bright, but behind me you could see by the closet behind the door, behind the camera, the PTZ is darker, right? So if I were actually shooting this shot with a still camera, the big mono light would be on a stand next to the camera and would illuminate this whole area where I am nicely, but it probably wouldn't cover back there. And that's where I would then take a second and a third shot with a handheld flash, and I would actually be in those shots, but the flash would be illuminating that area, and the main flash, the mono light, would still go off on those secondary and tertiary shots. And then in Photoshop, you blend it all together, and using masks and things like that, I take myself out of those images. So it's called compositing the flash images together. So the final shot would be the entire large space would be lit up evenly. So it's a whole process. And again, I used to know how to do all that fluently, and it's, starting to come back to me now. So anyway, well, look who's in the house. Willie Howe. Hey, Willie, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. And thank you for the comment on the video, I'm assuming that is. NJ says that was good. All right. So, again, that's about all I had for everybody. I can see we're dropping now. We had like 15 a few minutes ago, and now we were down to 10. Now we're down to 7. Now we're down to 6. But we got 11 likes. So on that note, I'm going to say, hey, everybody, thank you for joining me on this live stream. put any more comments you have down in the live stream video after it ends, and I'll be happy to answer them. And until next time, take care. We'll see you next time around.